Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Phil Ike, and joining me today is the Senior Main Street Specialist with Michigan Main Street, Leigh Young. Good afternoon, Leigh.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. Last time we met, we talked about transformation strategies. People, if you have not watched or listened to that episode, you got to go back and listen to it. Like, what community does not want huge transformation in their community? Well, Michigan Main Street gives you the plan and the data and the suggestions and the expertise to be able to accomplish those things. So today we're talking about leadership and training for leadership and developing leaders within our community, which I think is so important. You think about communities being people, and look at all these people, and these people have different roles. And one of the most important roles in a community is leadership, because it really dictates what we're doing now to fulfill our future or fulfill our potential. So when it comes to training and leadership, what kinds of training and development do you guys do?
Yeah, we have several different offerings. We first start out with director onboarding and director orientation. So anytime a new community gets a new director, we meet with them one-on-one about 2 to 3 weeks after they've been on the job so they can get their feet wet, understand the local partners and stakeholders. But we'll meet with them. We have a director manual that kind of walks through, here's your role as a Main Street director. Here's your role as a DDA director. Here are key partners and stakeholders you're going to want to meet. And also here's a step-by-step guide for what you're going to want to do within the first 60 days. So we have that orientation with them. We talk about our program, the roles and responsibilities that they have as being part of a Michigan Main Street program. One of the key benefits is that we also connect them with other MEDC staff that's going to help in their role. So things like their community planner, if they're participating in redevelopment ready communities, so that they can understand the development review process and how that's important for downtown development. We also connect them with their community development manager. So anytime a property owner says, hey, I have a great building, I want to rehab it, they know exactly immediately who to call in order to get funding and financial resources if available. So that's one benefit of our director orientation and onboarding. Then we have other workshops. So every year we offer 2 Michigan Main Street workshops. They focus on one or more of the Main Street 4 points. And we bring in speakers to talk about pertinent topics related to the Main Street 4 points. These are 1.5-day workshops where we bring our network together. Board members and volunteers can also come to these workshops to learn about key strategies in one or more of the Main Street 4 points. We have also been doing our webinar series. So you might have seen on our Main Street Solution Center some new resources come up. Part of these have been curated from our Main Street webinar series. And these are topics like Real Estate 101, Historic Preservation 101, Retail Merchandising. We just did a Retail Merchandising web where we invited small businesses to come and learn about how they could make their spaces look and feel better for customers. We're going to be doing a fund development webinar series later this fall. And one we're doing in June, which I'm very excited about, is a diversity, equity, and inclusion webinar. This is a really important topic for our directors to understand how they can be more inclusive as an organization to the populations they have in their communities. And so we're bringing in an expert to talk to them about that. Some other training and leadership development that we offer is bi-weekly. Our Main Street directors meet on a Zoom call to talk and share challenges, share key successes. But we also sometimes bring in speakers or partner organizations to share grant information or programming that they offer that's relevant to downtown revitalization work. And then I think one of the most important things that we do is our leadership development specifically for executive directors through our director retreat. So every other year, we bring our directors together to go through a professional development opportunity where we bring in a speaker that could talk about things like setting boundaries or conflict resolution or creating a practice of rest so they're not getting burnt out. But it's specific professional development for our executive directors, and it's just a focus on them through our director retreat. So that's a laundry list of all of our training that we provide.
So Leigh, tell me a little bit more about specifically the training that you give to the new Main Street director.
Yeah. So you had made a point about the executive directors don't have to have a certain professional background. And that's exactly what we say to communities that are hiring a new executive director, is that it's much more about the personality fit than the background that they have, because we can train them on what the Main Street approach is. We do that every single day. We have training and workshops to do that. But really it's about finding someone that meets your community's personality, and then we help train them and actually are working on elevating their roles to be the downtown economic development experts and professionals within their communities. We work to provide the training so that they can be that effective liaison between the community, developers, business owners, and property owners to the city or other resource providers. So we arm them with knowledge that they need to be the resource connector for funding for different projects or real estate development initiatives. So all of the things that we do are to help elevate them as the economic development professional in their communities. We also are trying to help with executive director retention as well. So by providing our leadership development trainings and that orientation, our executive directors aren't getting as burnt out because they're setting guide rails and boundaries that they need to be successful.
Mm. That's such a great thing, because you hear kind a similar strategy in hiring all the time, in that you can teach almost anybody skills.
Right.
What you can't teach them is who they are, their person, their personality. And when it comes to a community specifically, that carries on an even more important role. Like every day you're walking out into a community of people, and you have to be able to be that liaison, kind of that person that people can go to and they can trust, and like, oh, they will help me, and I might have to mend some bridges, and that takes somebody with a temperament that can able to do that. And so this idea that you pick the right person, the right personality, and we'll come in and we'll help develop them and elevate them and give them the skills they need to be successful. Man, that is such an incredible 1-2 punch.
Yeah. Yeah. And even for our more seasoned directors who are the right culture fit for their communities, they're wanting to identify skills and resources that they need to be a better professional in the economic development space. And so we've said, hey, here's some more sophisticated trainings through outside sources like IEDC or economic development partnerships that we might have, or organizations that exist. And so why don't you go and explore those trainings as well? Because we have a lot here for Michigan at Michigan Main Street, but also maybe there's other things out there. So being ourselves being a connector to additional resources and trainings has been helpful as well for our more seasoned directors.
I love it. There's a bunch of things I want to highlight. One is sometimes when people want to start a business, they immediately think about like all the things that they're not good at, and how they have to be good at XYZ first and then I'll be ready, or I have to hit a certain level of competency or success or whatever, and then I will be ready to take the next big step that I need to take. And I think what is so great about the training that you guys provide is you as a community, you don't need any of that. Like, you don't have to be the Main Street experts. You don't have to have all of these boxes checked and all of these things, because you can be absolutely brand new to this program, and you will come in and you will train that person, and you will help them, and you will connect them with this network of people that have been collectively doing it for hundreds of years, and you actually help them become who they need to be for that community. It's not, well, you have to have the right person in place and you have to go through that HR process, all of these other things. You do have to do that as a community, but then you come in as the experienced ones, as the experts, and say, hey, we're going to develop you, we're going to cultivate you, we're going to increase your capacity through workshops and continuing education. It's not just best of luck to you, sir or ma'am, and then you're off and running, and you'll never hear from us again. It's what else can we teach you as communities change, as understanding develops. We want to make sure that you're on top of that. And can we talk about this network?
Yeah.
The Main Street network. It's such like an amazing collective of people that are just all in on their communities. Here in Michigan, just like person after person I meet from Main Street community, they're on fire. They're amazing at something. I think about like Jim and his magic, but he's better at more than just magic. And then you think like nationally as well. I am not siloed out as an executive director of a local Main Street program. It's not just me on an island. I've got other communities in Michigan that are more than willing to say, hey, we faced exactly that challenge 10 years ago. You are almost exactly like us in so many ways. Here's everything that we did. Please go steal it and try it. Like, wish you the best. They will literally do that for you. And the amazing part of that is that takes this timeline of, we wanted to achieve something and it might take us 45 years to do it, and it can shrink it down to, well, now that's like a 5-year plan, or that's a 10-year plan, and that's exciting and that's motivating that we can affect that kind of change in our lifetime by connecting to this network of really incredible and amazing people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, time and time again, we get asked, like, what's the value of participating in Michigan Main Street? Why would a community do this? And by and far, the reason that our executive directors, one of the biggest reasons, there are a multitude, but one of the reasons is that network. Our directors don't feel like they're on an island. I mean, community economic development can be very siloing, can feel like you're the only one having these struggles. But when they get this network of support to come to our biweekly director call and say, hey, this crazy thing happened, or this crazy person said this thing, how do I navigate it? Our communities all have, oh, that happened to me, here's how I dealt with it. Or that hasn't happened to me, but have you thought about X, Y, and Z in order to move that challenge forward? So our executive directors absolutely feel like that is one of the biggest benefits, is being part of this network. Not only our executive directors, but we've also started bringing together our board chairs and vice chairs to have this network. So we bring them together quarterly to, same thing, share challenges, share successes, talk about what's working and what's not. That network alone of Main Street leaders is helping as well.
One of my friends, Jeff Sigler from Revitalize or Die, he has this great thing where he talks about, like, that your community isn't a special little snowflake.
Right.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
There's not another community like you in the world. But when you take that too far and you say, well, we have challenges that nobody else has faced, maybe we're filled with ego and say, like, well, I have to be the one to fix it because I have to prove to my community that I can do this by myself. And we isolate ourselves from so many incredible people who are smarter than us, better than us, more experienced than us. They have proof. They'll literally say, can we meet up for I'll meet you for coffee and I will give you everything that you need to know. They'll literally lay out this roadmap of success for you. And it would be foolish not to take advantage of that. And I think Michigan Main Street is really a door opening to this network that's already established. You don't have to be the person from the community calling up random economic development offices like, hey, I'm from so-and-soville. Can I cheat off your answer key for a little bit? It's weird. But here at Michigan Main Street, you walk into a community of other communities that are all more than willing to help you, to listen to you, to give you advice, to learn from you as well. And it's just a really, really incredible thing. If people are watching this or listening to this and they're like, I'm really interested in Michigan Main Street, or we're almost there, ready to apply and start this process, but I need a little bit more information, how do they go about reaching out?
Yeah. So I have the pleasure of working with prospective communities as well. So they can reach out to me and I will hook them up with a path moving forward. So whether it's they want to be part of the network level and get resources and training from our staff, or they want to move forward with being a fully designated Michigan Main Street community, I will help them figure out the best path forward as well. But I wanted to go back to one thing that you said about giving them the answer key. So Main Street does kind of give them the answer key, right? Like community development and community revitalization and downtown revitalization isn't that special, right? A lot of communities have the same challenges. And that's why downtown management best practices exist, right? Is because Main Street America has been around for over 40 years. They've seen all of the different challenges and therefore written best practices. And at Michigan Main Street, we've also written best practices. And so all of our training and workshops are based on those best practices. We've written the answer key. And so we, through our training and resources, just provide those answers to our communities. But then they, like you said, also give them to each other. Yeah. So that's what I was saying.
Yeah, the idea that there are basic fundamental principles of success, I think is so important, because also being somebody in community work, it feels like every day you're trying to figure out a new problem, or you're making up a new answer, and you feel like I'm just desperately trying to make something happen, and if I just work too hard for too long, like eventually I'll get what I need. And I think what having principles of success in place as kind of a foundation for leadership development, or transformational strategies, or whatever it is, it 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 makes life easier in a way, because it makes you more strategic about the work that you're doing, that you're not just mindlessly wasting time and hoping that it's going to work and take an effect. Maybe 15 years from now, all the stuff I'm doing will actually pay off. And it looks at other successful communities and says what made them successful. Okay, let's distill that down. Lower, lower, lower. Oh, it's these pillars. And if you focus on those pillars, you too can build this successful community. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It shouldn't be a scary thing for or an apprehensive thing for communities to hear that. It's not a cookie cutter process. It's not the state coming in saying you should be this kind of community. It's saying, hey, you know what? How can we make all the hard work that you're doing pay off even more in an even shorter timeline? And it's so great, man. If you're watching or listening to this, if you have not checked out the Michigan Main Street program, do it. Hop on their website, send Leigh an email, just explore a little bit, find out what you need to find out, but really give this program a thought. Leigh Young, I want to thank you so much for your time today and all the work that you're doing for our communities across Michigan.
Thank you.